I remember mentioning stuff like this before. I said, if Sony ever decided to do sort of something like Game Pass, people would drop what Xbox does in a flash and go jump on the PlayStation bandwagon. And it's not because, it's necessarily better, but just people have that perception that PlayStation is really high quality. This is sort of weird to me. I don't particularly care because it's not something I use or care about, but this was interesting to me that Xbox is kind of the laughing stock right now. So Digital Foundry did PlayStation Cloud Streaming versus Microsoft xCloud, image quality, performance, and latency. Obviously, xCloud is now streaming Series S software, where didn't it used to be the X Blades? They put in those. Anyway, Sony's PlayStation Plus cloud streaming service was introduced last October for PlayStation Plus premium subscribers, offering 4K streaming of PS5 titles in addition to the old PlayStation Now 720p PS3 games and 1080p PS4 games. They've been critical of cloud streaming in the past, as what you gain in convenience, you often lose in image quality and latency. So how does the Sony offer compare to the native experience on the PS5 on that front? And what about Xbox's xCloud offering? The latter point threw up an interesting curveball during testing. Microsoft servers are based on Xbox Series X silicone, but the games being streamed are definitely the Series S versions. They've looked at xCloud before, though admittedly it has changed dramatically since then, but it's worth having a quick primer on how the PlayStation Plus premium streaming service works on PS5. In short, you'll see a yellow cloud icon next to the game that supports the tech on PlayStation Plus catalog, whether you have it installed locally or not. By comparison, Xbox only offers its cloud option for games that are not yet installed. The range of games supported on Sony's device is impressive, from first-party heavy hitters to popular third-party options and indie darlings. And the biggest perk is that titles supporting a hefty 200-plus gigabyte installs are playable this way in under a minute. In terms of video quality, the service supports 60 frames at resolutions up to 4K with HDR, though a true 4K is only possible on PS5 titles. This sadly means that the PS4 games played over the cloud still only run 1080p, while PS3 titles are limited to 720p. The resolution cap for older consoles is a huge shame, as some PS3 games had the ability to run native 1080p on original hardware, while PS4 games were often playable at 1440p or higher on the PS4 Pro. That said, the audio options are at least respectable with 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound, etc., etc. The final point is testing that there's a selection of games outside the PS Plus catalog that work with cloud streaming. The catch is that they must be bought digitally via the PlayStation Store to allow cloud support, like Cyberpunk 2077. Supposing you've just made your purchase and you want to dive in without waiting for the download of the entire game, it's a neat option, therefore it makes sense. Looking at the moderate case like Fortnite running 60 frames per second in a match tested, the cloud version almost passes as the real thing, but there are clear limits imposed by the video encoder. In the worst case, areas of dense green foliage again cause video breakup, smudging over the definition of grass blades, pushing things to further extremes. Assetto Corsa Competizione is something of the worst case scenario for cloud streaming tech. Typically, racing sims of this nature demand high levels of video bandwidth when presented in video, and so it goes here when compared to a save race replay running natively on PS5 versus the cloud solution. The gray overcast sky, rainfall, and rapid 60 FPS movement causes heavy macro blocking across each frame. So again, it's very interesting to see the comparison between different games on Xbox, xCloud, as well as the cloud option for PlayStation. xCloud gaming has an issue, and it doesn't just affect third-party titles, as Halo Infinite and Gears 5 also run at lower internal resolutions, 1080p and 900p respectively, when streamed via xCloud. In both cases, there are lower figures than we'd expect from true Series X hardware. Added to that, there appears to be a bug with the Xbox service on occasion, causing a 30 frames per second cap with uneven frame pacing to appear regardless of game. In the case of A Plague Tale Requiem and Back 4 Blood, the first times they launched each game over cloud triggered erratic, choppy performance. Thankfully, mixed with a reboot of the game, PlayStation Plus cloud streaming had no such issue. In every case, we were met with a PS5 equivalent experience, at least before video compression and latency are taken into account. averaging 100 results between native PS5 and the cloud version. The Cyberpunk results are fascinating. They get 88 millisecond with the native test versus 143 millisecond on the cloud, which means it adds an extra 54.9 milliseconds overall. Control inputs are noticeably delayed, and especially so for a game like Cyberpunk, where input lag is high to begin with in native gameplay. They tried the game on 30 FPS ray tracing mode as well, which recorded 147 millisecond natively versus 203 millisecond over the cloud. So 57 milliseconds of additional lag. So you're getting a lot of extra lag and things like that. Again, we're seeing a lot of situations where obviously Microsoft is getting beat to the punch, but it is weird to see them kind of, have this situation where they were kind of having this xCloud stuff. Like, they've had their own cloud solution since like 2012, to be honest with you. Like, looking into it, I can remember seeing article from like 2012 where it was like, they're running Halo 4 on a phone, a Windows phone, right? Of course, Windows phones has gone the way of the dinosaur, and everybody kept saying, well, that's the future, cloud's the future. But every single iteration of cloud has kind of stunk, right? And people go, oh, well, that's because, internet, blah, blah, blah. Like, especially in North America where, we're the biggest connoisseurs of video games, our internet infrastructure is bad. And there's some people I know that have played cloud and they're okay with it here or there. They wouldn't play it all the time. Me, like, I could have never played cloud before. I now have Starlink, so most of the time I'm running 200 plus megabytes per second down, which doesn't sound like a lot to some people I know that have like gigabit internet or whatever, but my internet is still not good enough to run xCloud, right? I've tried it just for like trial and error purposes, and I was playing like some Gears of War 3 or something like that, and it gets all pixelated and blocky and, kind of stuttery and like kind of jumps across the screen. Like, it's not good. So the fact that PlayStation is doing better than, Xbox is really a bad thing. It's a bad look. Now, listen, I hope that all these cloud things stop. I think cloud gaming is just really bad, and I feel like it really has cost the industry, like in several ways, because that's where people expect the industry to go, right? So you expect the industry to go that way. They're kind of forcing it, and so people go, oh, well, that's the future. It's inevitable. I mean, I don't necessarily think that. I think that unlike some of the other forms of media, it's like people aren't gonna want to pay to own their games or whatever, and then only be able to stream them like this. I think it's different when you're buying a movie or whatever. Like for me, I try to buy the 4K Blu-rays as much as possible, and the reason being, it comes with a 4K Blu-ray, a standard Blu-ray, and a digital copy. So you're covered regardless when it comes to video games, and and those are mostly like $10, $15, $20. Video games are like, $70. And that's part of the big reason why Stadia failed, because they're trying to sell people these like $70 games that, nobody actually owns. And so I think that that's a major problem. And I think that's a problem going forward as well, along with the actual problem of, these games just aren't going to play as good as like the local hardware. So you would always run up against people with local hardware that would, just absolutely destroy you. And so, you get caught up, sort of stuck in this weird situation. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think that it's never going to be good, but it is kind of funny and ironic to see Xbox getting beat by PlayStation in this aspect, when Microsoft specifically started off this generation betting heavily on cloud gaming. In fact, so heavily that they took away potential sales of the Series X, and then they started putting the Series X in the blades for their cloud gaming, because they thought they were going to get this big uptick of cloud users. They're trying to reach those billions of users, and it never really came out that way. So it is kind of a weird situation, but one that's kind of funny in my opinion anyway. It's kind of hilarious. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you all. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on the video and possibly even consider subscribing. I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Rack 'em up Fact 'em up. Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.